the winter of 2019, I took a temporary documentation job in Los Angeles. The kind of short contract no one plans for and no one remembers applying to. Cataloging architectural changes inside old buildings scheduled for renovation. Mostly forgotten theaters, office blocks from another era, and hotels that had outlived the reasons they were built in the first place. The company told me my job was simple. Photograph, record, observe, and avoid researching the locations beforehand so my notes would remain unbiased. Which sounded professional enough until I saw the address of the assignment and noticed a handwritten instruction added at the bottom of the form that simply read, "Do not attempt to access the roof." The building looked ordinary when I arrived, almost aggressively normal, with fresh paint trying too hard to erase its past. A silent reception desk, soft jazz, playing through ceiling speakers, and the faint smell of industrial cleaner layered over something much older that hadn't quite gone away. There were no signs of abandonment, no dramatic atmosphere, nothing that would justify the reputation surrounding the place. And that was the first thing that felt wrong, because it felt less like entering a haunted building and more like interrupting something that was pretending not to be noticed. I stepped into the elevator at 7:32 a.m., noticing the interior hadn't been renovated like the lobby. The metal walls scratched by decades of use. The buttons slightly misaligned as if replaced one at a time without care for symmetry. There were 13 labeled floors, plus the roof access. But there was also a blank square between 13 and R, an unmarked button with no engraving, no number, no sign it had ever meant to say anything at all. Assuming it had been disconnected, I pressed 5 and waited. But the doors closed, reopened immediately, and revealed the same empty lobby as if the elevator had decided I hadn't actually made a choice. I tried again. The same thing happened. Doors closed, opened. Nothing changed. On the 4th attempt, I laughed under my breath, already blaming faulty wiring or a stuck relay. But before I could press the button again, I heard a voice behind me say quietly, "It doesn't like being ignored." I turned, expecting to see another worker. But the elevator was empty. The doors now closed, the machinery humming as we began to move even though I hadn't selected a floor. The indicator didn't display numbers anymore, only a blinking dash like the system itself was unsure where it was going, and when the elevator finally stopped, it opened onto a hallway that did not exist on any blueprint I had studied. The carpet was darker, patterned in a style decades out of date. The lighting warmer and dimmer, the air dry and still like a sealed room opened after years. And at the far end of the corridor stood a housekeeping cart arranged with perfect precision, towels folded too neatly to belong to an active hotel. I checked my clipboard out of reflex, even though I already knew what it would say. There was no 14th floor. When I turned back, the elevator display read 14. I should have left immediately, but curiosity is a powerful anesthetic, and I walked forward noticing. The room numbers made no logical sense, jumping forward and backward as if order had been abandoned halfway through. Halfway down the hall, I heard the elevator ding again behind me even though I hadn't called it. And when I looked back, the doors were open, waiting. The control panel now showing only a single option: lobby. That was when I heard someone say, very softly, "Hello." The voice came from a partially open door labeled 1410, and inside was a perfectly ordinary room, frozen mid-occupation. A suitcase open on the bed, a television unplugged, bathroom light on, and a mirror above the desk fogged as though someone had just breathed onto it. Written in the condensation were the words, "You are not the first to document this." The closet wasn't filled with clothes. It was filled with recorders, dozens of them, different models from different decades, each labeled with dates and initials. I picked one up and pressed play, hearing a man calmly describing measurements of a hallway that changed length when unobserved. Another recording from a woman insisting the floor only existed while she continued speaking about it. Another theorizing that the building was not replaying history but accumulating attention, shaping itself from every investigation, every article, every person trying to explain what had happened there. The realization arrived slowly and then all at once. This place wasn't sustained by tragedy. It was sustained by observation. Every attempt to understand it added structure. Every retelling gave it another wall, another corridor, another room. The 14th floor was not hidden. It was being built. Behind me, the elevator doors began to close. I ran, but the hallways stretched, perspective pulling away like a lens zooming out. Doors opening on either side to reveal other people seated at desks, calmly recording notes as if they had been working there for years. One of them looked up and said, without surprise. Eventually you realize describing it is what keeps you here. I stopped speaking. The hallway stopped, growing. I said something again, just a word, and the walls extended farther into shadow. Silence caused the space to weaken. Observation rebuilt it, so I sat down in the middle of that impossible corridor and forced myself to say nothing at all. Not to narrate, not to analyze, not even to whisper. And over what might have been hours or days, the lights dimmed. The texture of the walls softened. The numbered doors fading like old photographs left in the sun until there was nothing left but the elevator again, waiting quietly as if none of it had happened. When I returned to the lobby, it looked exactly the same as when I arrived. Clean. Renovated. Forgettable. The company later informed me the project had been cancelled, claiming there were never enough historical records to justify preservation. But sometimes, when I step into elevators now, I notice something I know shouldn't be there. A blank button, a space between floors. And I make sure not to look at it for too long, because I understand now. Some places stand to trap people. They wait for witnesses. And if no one pays attention, they finally get to disappear.